Hello and welcome to this Warhammer 40k 8th edition video with me, Mark, from the Disembark channel. It is probably the hottest day of the year so far, and there are barbecues going on outside. I am a little bit tanned. I think I've caught the sun. I'm sweating. It is so hot right now. But I made my way down to my local Games Workshop store and purchased myself the new 8th edition rulebook for Warhammer 40k. Very excited for this. I've had a little look through it. It's all looking really cool. In this video, I'm going to be going over my impressions. We're going to go over the rules, the core rules of the game, and see how they've changed from the 100 million page rules that it was in the previous edition. I also went and purchased the Xeno Index 1 and 2. Most of my armies are the Xeno armies, so I've been looking over the points cost, seeing if my armies have changed much. I think the points are pretty similar. They may even be a few points over. We normally do a 2,000 point army each. Two different ways that I think Ian and I are going to be creating the armies with this. So let's, without a doubt, make haste to the rulebook. So going into the rulebook here, it's a good book, hardback, like that, 282-ish pages long, and inside here you will find lots of artwork, lots of pictures of models, here as you can see without the glare, to get the creative juices flowing. It's got story, it's got information about different armies in there, just descriptions, little segments such as this. So you've got your Blood Angels and Dark Angels, just to kind of get you an introduction to what each army is, and then the indexes and then future codexes will be what you do to build the army. I'm going to go through the core rules. The previous edition in 7th was a huge book, lots of rules, quite complicated and could be a bit too much for new players. This one is down to 12 pages, which I'll be going through in some detail in this video. But there's a few ways to play Warhammer now. To play it, you can do narrative, or we can make missions from stories. You can kind of grab what you want and do it. In the army sections, they have a power system, which if I just grab, who do I like? Say a Tau strike team. So a Tau strike team, which are fire warriors. I'll show you just on here. You'll be able to see these all in leaks or when you purchase it yourself. It has a PowerPoint. So 3 PowerPoints gets you 5 fire warriors, and it goes through what their weapons are, and then if you want to have more fire warriors, you have additional points that you plus on to them. This is not too dissimilar to War Machine, and those that have played War Machine and created armies with War Machine, or are brand new players, it's very, very easy to do. I spoke to a couple of people in the store, as well as a couple of friends today, and they said that's quite simple. So we could say a 50 point power game, 50 power level point. So yeah, okay, well I collect Eldar. A Wraith Knight is 27 power points. So that's a lot, So I'm going to have a look at some of the smaller units I can do. Whereas the Tyranid player could do, right, I'm going to have these Hormagaunts, these Termagants, this monster, this monster, this monster, and still equate to 27 power points. So that's an easy, quick game to do it. Or there's the old-fashioned way, match play, which is you have points value. Now, when you create your armies with this one, you have the points value of the model, but then you have to check the points of the equipment that they have. So it can be slightly tedious, can take a little bit of time, but as the Games Workshop store manager said to me, it allows for customization, and if you're putting a little bit more effort into your army and the game is shorter, it does kind of feel like you've invested a lot of time into that army and makes it a little bit worthwhile. I guess that was his pitch to me for doing that one. So I've been calculating some of my points up. I believe my Tyranid force is, which is 2,000 points in 7th, is possibly slightly more now. But there are things that are better, such as Scything Talons and some of the little special rules are quite cool. So, but I'll go into more detail with that when I talk more about Tyranids. We are here today to talk about the core rules. Now, with this book, it comes with a lovely divider. So if I go to the core rules section. So the core rules section starts with models, data sheets, explaining what units are. And there's a quick key about the battle round. The first phase is the movement phase. Then it's psychic, then it's shooting, then it's the charge phase, which is close combat. Then it's the fight phase, which is the close combat actioning. And 6 is the morale phase, which has changed very much so since the last edition. So, similarly to 7th, the movement phase happens first. Now, you start your movement phase by picking one of your units and moving each model in that unit that you've moved all the models that you want to. So each model has a movement characteristic in its data sheet. You go to that, it says say 5 inches, you can move it 5 inches. If it's 9 inches, you can move it 9 inches, which is cool. It can move in any direction, 360. No part of the model's base or hull can move any further than the movement value it has been given, but can be moved vertically in order to climb over scenery and terrain, which suggests scenery and terrain don't damage you in this one. If it can fly, it can move across things like that. Minimum move. Some models that can fly have a move characteristic consisting of 2 values. The first is the model's minimum speed, and then the second one is the max it can go. Enemy models. All models in the same army are friendly models. Models controlled by an opposing player are the enemy models. Makes sense. When you move a model in the movement phase, it may not move within 1 inch of an opponent's model. Falling back. Units starting the movement phase within 1 inch of an enemy model unit can either remain stationary, which means they'll be doing combat, or can fall back. The unit must end its move more than 1 inch away. If the unit does fall back, it cannot advance or charge later that turn. A unit that falls back also cannot shoot later that turn unless it can fly. So falling back, you think you're going to die, great, but you cannot do much after that. Advancing, which is the old run rule. When you pick a unit to move in the movement phase, you can declare that it will advance, roll a dice and add the result to the move characteristic. All units that advance cannot shoot or charge that turn. So the run is done in the movement phase. Makes sense, you're moving and advancing. Now when we go to the shooting phase, or if you look at special psychic powers later, there are some things to help you to advance and charge, or advance and shoot, such as assault weapons. When we come to it, you can advance and you can shoot them, but there'll be a negative modifier to your shots, which is incredible. It talks about wobbly model syndrome. If it's wobbling, just be fair. You can place it slightly out of synergy, still work. Reinforcements. Many units have the ability to set up on the battlefield mid-turn, sometimes having teleporters or burrowing or whatever. Units that are set up in this manner cannot move or advance further during the turn they arrive, so they can't go into combat. Their entire movement phase is used in deploying the battlefield, but they could otherwise act normally, so they can shoot and stuff. Units that arrive as reinforcement count as having moved in their movement phase for all rules and purposes, such as shooting heavy weapons. Any unit that has not arrived in the battlefield by the end of the battle counts as having been destroyed. So your reinforcements now can come in turn 1. So your deep striking and everything like that. When you do come in, you cannot be within 9 inches of your opponent, but you can put them anywhere. There's no scattering, they're just there. So if you see any of our battle reports from 7th edition, such as my Grey Knight's army, there'll be times where I used to scatter. They wouldn't come where I wanted them, they'd go off, they would hit a tree and just die. That doesn't happen anymore. So it means you can enjoy your army, you have more control over reinforcements, it's not random, which is going to help and make it really, really good. Next is the psychic phase. What you do, you choose a psyker. and the power they're going to use. You make the psychic test. Enemies can do a Deny the Witch test to try and prevent that happening, and then you resolve the psychic power. So psychic powers, unless stated otherwise, all psychers know Smite psychic power as well as ones in their own army book. So Smite is a warp charge value of 5. What you need to do is roll 2d6. If you roll above the value or equal to it, you've passed. So Smite, for example, if manifested, the closest visible enemy unit within 18 inches of the psyker suffers D3 mortal wounds. If the result of the psychic test was more than 10, it is D6 mortal wounds. Now Smite essentially is a little psychic power like a shooting attack, but you don't have to roll for any shooting. It just manifests. You do D3 wounds or D6 wounds, which is great. Why is it great? Well, it means now that you can hurt vehicles and big monsters and do other things. It doesn't go against the toughness value, it just takes away those wounds, which is incredible. A little assassin, sniper-esque psychic ability, which is quite exciting for you psychic armies out there. If you're coming at me, oh, you've got an Imperial Knight with a bajillion wounds, okay, I have a few psychers, pick a couple of them off. It's not even the shooting phase now. When it's your turn, you're not going to enjoy what has just happened. Perils of the Warp. If you roll a double 1 or a double 6 when taking a psychic test, he immediately suffers Perils of the Warp. The psyker suffers D3 mortal wounds, as if the brain is exploding. If the psyker is slain due to Perils of the Warp, the power they were attempting to manifest automatically fails, and each unit within 6 inches immediately suffers D6 mortal wounds. So there are some drawbacks to trying to do psychic. It doesn't say anything about taking saves because mortal wounds automatically go through that. So Deny the Witch, what you need to do is a psychic can attempt to resist a psychic power that has manifested by an enemy model within 24 inches by taking a Deny the Witch test. So you have to have a psyker within 24 inches of a psyker that is going to be doing a power. Previously, this was not the case. Forget everything you knew. To do so, you roll 2d6. If the total is greater than the result of the psychic test of your opponent who did the psychic test to manifest the power, it doesn't happen. So I'm going to do Smite on you. I've rolled 2d6. I've rolled a 7, so it goes off. Now your psyker is within 24 inches of my psyker. You roll 2d6. You've rolled an 8. That means Smite has not gone off. If you'd rolled a 7, 6 or less, it would have gone off. You would have taken mortal wounds. Very simple, very easy. And that's it to the psychic phase. So just look at your psychic powers in your book, or you Smite. You roll, it goes off, it happens. You roll double, 1 or 6, it doesn't happen. Deny the Witch, you've got to beat my roll. Simple. Shooting phase now. You choose a unit to shoot with. You choose its targets. You choose the ranged weapons and you resolve the attacks. You make the hit to hit roll, you make the to wound roll. Enemy allocates the wounds. Very important. So if you are shooting at an enemy unit of 10 Space Marines, your opponent chooses which Space Marines can be affected by the shots. So it's not just how it used to be, the front line, the nearest enemy model takes the wounds. It can be anyone in that unit that you would like. And then you inflict the damage. So to choose the unit to shoot with, in your shooting phase, you can shoot with models armed with ranged weapons. First you pick one of your units to shoot with. You may not pick a unit that has advanced or fallen back or within 1 inch of an enemy. We see later on you can use certain units which have assault weapons, or if a psychic power has gone onto them saying they can shoot if they have advanced. After all that unit models are fired, you choose your next unit to shoot. Nice and simple. Choose your targets. Having chosen a shooting unit, you must pick a target now. In order to target an enemy unit, a model must be within range of one of the weapons that they have. If unsure, you can kind of stoop down, get your med tank measure out, kind of see if any terrain's in the way. Models cannot target enemy units within 1 inch of friendly models. The risk of hitting your own troops is too great. So you choose your ranged weapon. The weapons a model has are listed on their data sheet. So for example, a Baneblade has a giant cannon, heavy bolters, las cannons, a normal Guardian has a Shuriken catapult, an Eldar Ranger has a sniper and a pistol, yada yada yada. If a model has several weapons, it can shoot all of them at the same target, or it can shoot each at a different enemy unit. There's no restrictions from that paragraph that says you have to only use one of your shooting attacks. So my ranger with my sniper rifle can shoot something over there, but I have a pistol and you're getting quite close to me, I'm going to shoot at you as well. My tanks can similarly shoot at you with that weapon, shoot at you with that weapon, like a super heavy used to be able to do. Now everyone can do it. This means now that you don't have wasted guns. It means now you can be more effective in the shooting phase. It's showing now that shooting is still very strong. In either case, declare how you will split the shooting unit shots before any dice are rolled and resolve all the shots against one target before moving to the next. So my rangers, they're going to shoot their sniper rifles at those orc boys there, but they're going to shoot the pistols at the orc boys that are 6 inches away. So they do the sniper rolls there first, resolve everything, then we do the pistols over here, resolve everything. So the number of attacks. Each time a model shoots a ranged weapon, you will make a number of attacks. You roll 1 die for each attack being made. The number of attacks a model can make with the weapon is found in their data sheet. So let's go to this one. No, I've used Eldar Rangers. Let's use that example. When he finds it, when he finds it. Really funny because I can't find them now. Rangers. Okay, so Ranger, a Ranger long rifle, 36 inches, heavy 1. So it's 1 shot. So I'll roll 1 dice per model that has that gun. The Shuriken pistol has 1 shot. So I'll roll 1 dice for that one. If it was something like a flamer, which is assault d6, I would roll the d6, say I roll a 4, that's 4 dice. Scatter lasers, heavy 4, so that's 4 shots for that one. Nice and simple, it's there in the profile of the models you are using to shoot. It's there in front of you. You don't have to be going backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. It is there. Characters. These are heroes, officers, prophets. A character can only be chosen as a target in the shooting phase if they are the closest visible enemy unit to the model that is shooting. This does not apply to characters which have wounds characteristics of 10 or more though, because of its size, you would see it. So characters can't join a unit like they used to be able to, such as a Space Marine captain, but they now can't be targeted as easily, so that still gives you survivability in that sense. Characters also sometimes have an aura ability. For example, the Lord of Contagion affects all Death Guard models within 7 inches, and it gives them special buffs and things like that. Now, weapon types in the shooting phase, you'll see that there are things like heavy, rapid fire, assault. It goes through that, and very simple. Weapon types. There are 5 weapon types: assault, heavy, rapid fire, grenade, and pistol. A model shooting one of these weapons can take a number of attacks equal to the number written on its profile, which we've just gone on and spoken about. For example, heavy 3 is 3 shots. If a weapon has more than 1 attack, it must make all of its attacks against the same unit. Each type of ranged weapon also has an additional rule depending upon the situation. For example, the Eldar. I have the books here. Let's go with the Eldar and a Shuriken pistol. So it's a 12-inch pistol 1, which is 1 shot. Strength of the weapon is 4. The D, which means how much damage it does, is 1. An ability. Each time you make a wound roll of a 6+ for this weapon, that hit is resolved of an AP of -3 instead of 0. So what that means is, when you roll to wound, if you roll any 6s, you -3 to your opponent's armor save, and so the little cool ability, it's similar to what they had in the previous edition, but every weapon either has no ability or has an ability that is specific to that weapon, if that makes sense. Yeah. An assault weapon. So assault weapons fire so rapidly or indiscriminately that they can be shot from the hip as a warrior dashes forward into combat. A model with an assault weapon can fire it even if they advanced earlier in that turn. So you can move, you roll your dice to advance, say you roll a 3, you move an additional 3 inches, you have assault weapons, you can still shoot that. It's only with assault. But you subtract 1 from the to hit roll. So if you're rolling to hit on a 3, you subtract 1 from that, it makes it a little bit harder, so now it's a 4 to hit. Heavy weapons are the biggest and deadliest guns on the battlefield, but require reloading, careful setup, so on. If a model with a heavy weapon moved in the movement phase, you must subtract 1 from any to hit rolls when firing the weapon. That's it. Pretty good. Helps out your heavy weapons team that needs to maneuver. Tanks, they are moving, shooting with a heavy weapon, subtracting 1 from that. I guess it shows that they're still moving, kind of thing. I know there's a few tanks with weapons that they change the weapon typing, such as I think it's the Shuriken cannon on Dark Eldar. If it's attached to a vehicle, it counts as assault, which is good. Anyway, rapid fire. Rapid fire weapons are versatile. A model firing a rapid fire weapon doubles the number of attacks it makes if the target is within half range. So same as what it was. Grenade. Each time a unit shoots, a single model in the unit equipped with grenades may throw one instead of firing its weapon. Pistol. A model can fire a pistol even if they are within enemy unit, if they are within 1 inch of an enemy unit, but it must target the closest enemy unit. Each time a model equipped with both a pistol and another ranged weapon shoots, it can either shoot with its pistol or with all its other weapons. Choose which it will fire, pistol or non-pistol, before making hit rolls. So I was wrong earlier with the Eldar. You fire the sniper or the pistol. I have learned. So that is the types. So now we go to resolving the attack. You do the to hit roll, which is the ballistic skill characteristic in the model's data sheet. To wound roll, if an attack scores a hit, you will then need to go to the wound roll table. So it looks something like that, nice and simple. So before the to wound roll, was this big table, and you had all of these strength 1 against toughness 10, strength 2 against toughness 10, and all this. Now it's simple. If the strength of your weapon is twice or more than the unit's toughness you are shooting at, it is a 2+2 wound. If the strength of your weapon is greater than the toughness, but not double it, it's a 3+. If the strength is equal to the toughness, it is a 4+. If the strength is lower than the toughness, it's a 5+. And if the strength is half or less than the toughness value, it's a 6+. Nice and simple. Any roll of a 1 always fails, irrespective of any modifiers that may apply. So allocate the wounds. If an attack successfully wounds the target, the player commanding the target unit allocates the wound. But once wounds have started being taken off a multi-wound model, that multi-wound model must continue to take the remaining wounds. Invulnerable saves. If a model has more than 1 invulnerable save, it can use... Invulnerable save. Each time a wound is allocated to a model with an invulnerable save, you can choose to either use its normal save or its invulnerable save. If you use the model's invulnerable save, it is never modified by a weapon's armor penetration value. For example, Genestealers have a 5+ invulnerable now, so you can use that against weapons that do it. It doesn't state you can use invulnerable saves against mortal wounds, so I'm not going to do that. Terrain and cover. If a unit entirely or within any terrain is there, you add 1 to the saving throw of the unit. They do go through some terrain later on where it does special things, and feel free to, with your friends, make up rules with that. If you have a statue of a Space Marine, make it so Space Marines within 3 inches +1 to their leadership. Make it kind of thematic. Then you inflict the damage to the model you've just shot at. Nice and simple. Charge phase is next. You choose a unit to charge with. You choose the target. Your enemy resolves Overwatch. It's a reaction test essentially. And then roll 2d6 and you can charge. So any of your units within 12 inches of the enemy in your charge phase can make a charge move. You choose your target. Your opponent does Overwatch. So what Overwatch is, you attack them, you say, I'm going to charge you. Your opponent then chooses what weapon they're going to shoot at you. They get the dice, they have to hit you on a 6 and then carry on and do the 2 wounds like they would have done before. You make the charge move, you roll 2d6, you go into combat. Once you've moved all models in the charging unit, choose another eligible unit and then repeat the process. Nice and simple. I'm not seeing there that you gain an additional attack though for charging. Let's carry on here. The fight phase. First sequence. Choose a unit to fight with. Pile in 3 inches. Choose your targets. Choose your melee weapons. Resolve close combat attacks. So you choose a unit to fight with. Any units that charged or has models within 1 inches of an enemy model or unit fight in the fight phase. This includes all units, not just those controlled by the player whose turn it is. All units that charge this turn fight first. So automatically you charge, you fight first. After all charging units have fought, the players alternate choosing eligible units to fight with, starting with the players whose turn it is, until all eligible units on both sides have fought once each. So similar to Age of Sigmar, if there's a big melee action going, I've charged you with my gaunts, I go first, resolving everything. You can decide to hit them back, or if you've got another unit over there in combat, you can be like, do you know what? These guys will fight later. It'll be this one we resolve now. A bit of tactics within the game. A pile-in move is 3 inches. You choose your targets. First you must pick the target unit. If you're within 1 inch, you attack it. Number of attacks. The number of close combat attacks a model makes against is determined by its attack characteristic in the datasheet. For example, if a model has an attack characteristic of 2, it can make 2 close combat attacks. You then choose the melee weapon. Each time a model makes a close combat attack, it uses a melee weapon. The weapons a model is equipped with are described on the datasheets. If a datasheet does not list any melee weapons, the model is assumed to fight with close combat weapon, which has the melee profile. There's the following profile below. Just as 1 damage. If a model has more than 1 weapon, choose which it will use before rolling the dice. If a model has more than 1 melee weapon and can make several close combat attacks, it can split its attacks between these weapons however you wish. That's pretty huge because let me take your attention to the Wraith Knight over here. Wraith Knight has 4 attacks. So I'm in combat, I've charged you. What am I going to do? Well, in combat, I have Titanic Feet, Titanic Ghostclave, if I've given the upgrade, on Titanic Wraithbone Fists. So what's important? Well, the feet is the strength for the user, but its AP is -2, but it's D3 damage. When you make an attack with this weapon, roll 3 dice. instead of 1. So you get an additional extra attacks for that. Using the fists is strength for the user. It's -3, so a little bit better AP, but it's D6 damage. If I'd taken the Ghost Clave, which is the sword, it is ×2 strength, so that would be up to strength 16, -4 to the AP, and a damage of 6. So if my Wraith Knight is attacked, and is attacked by a load of gaunts, I could then go, do you know what? I'm going to just use its Wraithbone fists at these gaunts. So I've got 4 attacks. I do it and does D6 damage. Or if I've been attacked by, say, an Imperial Knight, I'll use the fists, D6 damage, blah, 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 blah. Or if there's multiple people charged in me, I can use its fist on this one, kick it with that one. Quite interesting. So you can choose for the situation that has arisen. I like that a lot. Resolve the close combat attacks. The attack sequence for making close combat attacks is identical to the one in the shooting phase. Consolidate. You may move each model in the unit 3 inches. And this can be in any direction. That's if you begin them. So the moral phase, or the morale phase is how it should be pronounced. Morale phase, in the morale phase, starting with the player whose turn it is, players must take morale tests for the units that have lost models. To take a morale test, roll a dice and add the number of models from the unit that have been slain this turn. If the result of the morale test exceeds the highest leadership characteristic in the unit, the test is failed, and for each point that test is failed by, 1 model is gone. Let's take Genestealer Cult. And they've got a squad of Neophyte Hybrids. The leadership is 7, the leaders is 8. Say you have a unit of 20 of them. They go into combat, they lose 7 of them. So, already, because their leadership is 7, you minus the 7 to the amount that are slain, that becomes 0. So on a D6, you lose D6 additional people. With the leader there, the leadership is 8, so if they've lost 7, on a D6 of 1, they're fine. Anything else, they've lost them. I don't think I've explained that very well, but it makes sense in my head. Transports. It will say on the data sheet if they are a transport model. Transport capacity. All transports have a transport capacity listed on their data sheet. When you set up a transport, units can start the battle embarked within it instead of being set up separately. Declare what units are actually embarked in it though. If all models in a unit end their move within 3 inches of the friendly transport, they can embark in it as well. Remove the unit from the battlefield and place it on one side. It's now embarked. Embarked units cannot normally do anything or be affected in any way whilst they're embarked unless specifically stated. Abilities that affect other units within certain range have no effect. If a transport is destroyed, any unit embarked within them immediately disembark. But you must then roll 1 dice for each model you just set up on the battlefield. On a roll of a 1, it is just slain. So the dangers are there. Disembark. Any unit that begins its movement phase embarked within a transport can disembark before the transport moves. When a unit disembarks, set it up on the battlefield so that it is within 3 inches of the transport and not within 1 inch of an enemy model. Any disembarking model that cannot be set up is slain. Units that disembark can then act normally. They can move, they can shoot, they can charge, they can fight. We are back in the realm of being able to charge out of a transport tank. Hoo-ha! Thank you, Games Workshop. Then they've got an example of how you would do a turn from the moving, the psychic, the shooting phase, the morale phase. Absolutely brilliant. Good work, Games Workshop. Nice and simple. So it then goes into how to choose an army and what kind of game you want to play. For example, if you do a matched play, which is say a 2,000 point army, it goes into the missions, the Maelstrom missions, extra rules. It's got Games Workshop's released some tactical objectives, which I've purchased as well for it. And then going through this book, it talks about well, gives you the tactical objectives as well, gives you all the missions, some lovely pictures, talks about Planet Strike, Stronghold Assault, Death from the Skies, and excellent. So that is the core rulebook in a nutshell. What do I think of it? It's very good. It's very easy to read. It's very simple. The rules are now streamlined. It looks like you are going to be more effective. It looks in combat, more effective in shooting, and the game will go a little bit faster, which is good. I'm going to go ahead and study the Xeno books, have a look at the points and special rules. I'm already liking in the Tyranids, you've got things where Siphoning Talons on a roll of a 1, when you roll to hit, you get to re-roll it, which is cool. And there's loads of little snippets like that as well. Going to go through the points to see how much my armies are worth now, both for 2,000 point matched plays, which is what Ian and I will be doing in our Battle League, but also for future tournaments, such as when it comes to the winter time, we do a Christmas Cup where we usually do a large scale battle. We're going to see what our armies points wise are now and see what we can do for that one. So that will be some fun reading. It's a nice day. I'm going to go out in a minute, going to enjoy it. So thanks very much for watching. Please comment, share, like and subscribe. I think this rulebook, if I gave it out of 10, a 9 out of 10, basically because it's great for new people, veterans of the game, really friendly to read, nice and simple. The rules are very streamlined, very simple, not overcomplicated at all. So thanks very much for watching. I've been Mark from the Xenovids channel. Please comment, share, like and subscribe, and enjoy your games of Warhammer 8th edition. Goodbye.